Let us please start.
Yes, I was not able to unmute myself. Yeah. So, very warm welcome to everyone.
कुशाली जी, आपका 2 जगह से लॉगिन है, सो इको आ रहा है.
Hey, Mani ji, please take over. Mani ji, please start.
Jai Jinendra and good afternoon and a very happy Paryushan to all present here. I heartily welcome all of you, including our chairman, Shri Asiji Shah, our director in charge, Meenalji Khona, all the vice chairpersons, treasurer, and the secretaries and the skill conveners of the Apex team. Of course, I do welcome all the dignitaries of the various chapters and the zones here. To all other participants, I value your time, effort, and commitment to the Guruvaar Ka Gyaan series. Thank you so much for being here. And of course, I always say, give a pat to yourself because you are really invested in your own upskilling. So I would now request our chairman, Shri Asiji Shah, for his address. So Asiji, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mani ji, for such a warm welcome and exciting address. Jai Jinendra, everyone. पर्यूषण के ये महापर्व पे we thought के let us do something which is very positive, and one of the biggest positive things is upskilling, learning, gaining knowledge. तो ये ज़्यादा महत्व है कि पर्यूषण जैसे महापर्व में ये हम इतना इंटरेस्टिंग सेशन कर रहे हैं. So I thank everyone who has joined. See, as Jito CFE, it is our constant endeavor to create platforms that not only inspire but also equip us with the skills required to succeed in today's dynamic world. So today's session is all about idea to inception. A lot of times we have amazing ideas, but how do we really take them towards inception and towards execution is also an art. It's also a skill. It's also a learning. So the session is 1% idea, 90%, 99% execution. It's a powerful reminder that success is not defined by thoughts alone, but the courage and consistency with which those thoughts are executed. So today we're fortunate and very happy to have with us two young and very dynamic entrepreneurs, Devansh and Akshay. Welcome to the session. Devansh and Akshay have been featured in Shark Tank, and they've achieved at a very young age, they've achieved several big milestones, and they've converted their vision into a 400 crore enterprise. So their journey is all about fearless execution, which started from a passion, from an idea into an empire now. So all the participants who've joined, I encourage each one of you to listen with an open mind, absorb their insights, and most importantly, think about how you can apply their lessons in your journey. Because while ideas are everywhere, it is execution that truly sets leaders apart. So let us dive into today's session with energy, curiosity, and the intent to act. Thank you, and over to you, Maniji.
Thank you so much, Asad ji. And in fact, when you were speaking, one thought came to my mind is that we all know about law of attraction, but even the word attraction has the word action in it. And probably that's what we are committing our next 90 minutes to. And with immense pride and pleasure, I would like to introduce the trainers and the speakers for today, our young guys. So we are joined today by Ackshay Jain and Devansh Jain Nawal. They are the dynamic co-founders of Culture Circle, India's first hype and luxury fashion marketplace. Akshay is an alumnus of Google and EY, and Devansh has an experience from Goldman Sachs, and he has graduated from IIM Ahmedabad. They've combined their diverse backgrounds to run a passion project, which actually they thought about in Goa and scaled that into a company, into a startup. In just 1.5 years, Culture Circle has grown into a 400 crore success story. They are featured on Shark Tank India and recognized in Forbes Asia 30 under 30. So all of you by now know that these guys, both of them are in their 20s. Their journey reflects the power of friendship, vision, and relentless execution. And today, they are here to share their story and insights with all of us. Before I pass on the baton and the spotlight to our two guys, I just have two announcements to make. First of all, we'll have Q&A in the end to maintain the flow of the session. And second, there will be an assessment given in the end, a form which has the assessment questions. Please do fill that up to grab your certification, so your certificate of participation. Thank you. And over to Akshay and Devansh. Please come and yes, we are waiting for your insights. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Maniji. Hi, guys. I am Akshay, and I'm the co-founder of Culture Circle.
Yeah, I'm Devansh, Jan Nawal, guys.
We're super stoked that there are more than like 150, 200 people on this call who have taken out time during the day of a working day, of a college day, school day to come listen to us. I would have assumed like only 10 of you will join in. That means we're going to make this a very valuable session. And honestly, by that, I mean, we'd just like to share our journey with all of you out there, the things we have done, the mistakes we have made, and how we have realized that ideas do not actually amount to anything, but it's just the execution. So I'll just loop in Devansh to tell you like how, like a quick 5-minute introduction as to how Culture Circle actually started and
Sure. So I think, before we start, I'd just love to get a sense of the audience that we have today. Because that'd be super important for us to like start our journey as well. So if you guys have ever considered, say, starting up or the prospect of entrepreneurship, or you guys are considering it, or is it something you guys want to do in the future, it would be great if you can just drop a me in the chat. That'll just give us a rough sense. Okay, wow.
okay, so we already have
Okay.
a lot of people actually dropping in me's. Okay. Okay, got it. So that was way higher than what we had presumed. You were ready to get like 3, 4 me's in the chat box.
So, okay. So I think we got a rough sense. So the reason I asked this question is because very interestingly, I don't think I personally ever really wanted to become an entrepreneur. It just happened by accident to me, right? And I think it goes similarly. Like we had jobs that we were gonna do after our college, right? We're both computer science engineers, and somehow we started doing this project that led to some another project that led to a third thing, and it ended up with ultimately us starting our first company without even realizing that this is going to be an actual career path that we're going to take. And that was called the Healthy Company back in 2019. We were both in the third year of our college is when we started that. And the only reason that I mentioned this to you guys is that has sort of been a central theme in both of our journeys in terms of towards entrepreneurship. That even though we did not really start with, say, an idea as to we will become entrepreneurs or this is the company we want to find. What really happened is we were just busy doing projects that we thought were really cool, we thought would be just cool to build. And that is one of the advantages we had as computer science engineers, frankly. This is also why tactical skills matter. The ability to build really matters. And in today's day and age, you can build out any app, any website, anything that you want using AI. For example, there's more than enough tools. We learned coding. Now you guys don't need to. So I think if there's one key takeaway that we will have even after 50 minutes of this session that I'm giving at the start, it is just experiment and build out things. You don't know what will work. We didn't know what idea will work, but we just built out a bunch of stuff and things clicked. So I think that is one thing that is sort of going to be the central theme of this session, that ideas are worth nothing. but it's about execution, it's about experimentation. Because even the smartest people on the planet, the most successful entrepreneurs, even they really don't know whether their idea is going to work or not going to work before they launch it. But they're quick at launching, quick at building, and that is the one message we just want to inculcate in everyone here.
So even if you, for example, take the example of Zepto, everybody realizes that Zepto is $1 billion outcome. But if you've seen their podcast, you would realize the way they had started was back in COVID, where they had just made a WhatsApp group amongst their society, friends of friends or family friends. And that is how they were delivering groceries. I can bet that back then, even they would not have guessed that probably in one day, Zepto would be $1 billion outcome. So that is exactly what we mean by just stop just ideating. There are 7 billion people on this planet. Everybody has ideas. Even I have a new idea every day, some of which might just be good. But what we actually have learned the hard way is execute fast. In our eighth grade, we had a random idea. What if there was a panda jumping over a rope? And immediately, I don't know how that happened. In eighth grade, we made a game application called the Panda Game. And we launched it within, I think, 1 week. So I was the one who was managing the code. Devansh was the one who was managing the physics of it and the graphics. And I don't know how it launched in 1 week. If you're in Gurgaon, there's a market called Galeria. We posted a lot of posters for it across a lot of walls, and there were a lot of downloads. And somehow that led to us taking the lead in our computer society in 11th and 12th grade. Same for the healthy company. We were just on a call and we were discussing, like Devansh was 120 kilos, I was 110 kilos, and we had lost a couple of 20, 30 kilos over our first 6 months or first 12 months of our college cycles. We were just on a call that what if people started doing exactly what we had done during our weight loss journey, which was focus on diet, focus on superfoods, and have a good routine. We built out a project, which is not even a company, by the way. We started working on a project which was for a competition called Thought for Food Challenge. It was a competition in Brazil, and if you came in top 10, you were basically sponsored a trip there. Unfortunately, out of like 1,000 applications, we came number 16. We did not make the cut to go to top 10, but that project eventually turned into the company we call the Healthy Company, where we launched a lot of products infused with superfoods and an AI app. This is not us trying to tell you what we did. I'm just trying to iterate on how a very small idea we did not even ever think will be a company happened. Similarly, in Goa, imagine we left a vacation to build a project because we're engineers and coders first. It was just an idea. What if all of the sellers are there on one application together? You have to purchase sneakers or you have to purchase, let's say, a handbag, which is only available in Europe. We just built it out and we left it. For 6 months, there were only two Instagram posts which used to go out on our official handle, and there was no paid marketing, there was no monetization. We did not make money from that passion project. After 6 months, Devansh randomly opens Google Analytics, the app we use to track traffic, right? And we have 70,000 organic users on the app. And that is when it clicked us, oh, wow, you know what? This can be something. So, turns out people were actually using it and telling their friends about it. Imagine our friends of friends coming back to us and be like, have you heard of this app called Culture Circle? And we're like, yeah, we built it. So that was the turning point where we realized that we built a good passion project and now is the time to monetize it. And exactly what Devansh said, we had never envisioned Culture Circle to reach here. Touchwood, it did. But as of date, in the last 2 years, our first month was like a 20 lakh of revenue stage. And July is probably closer to a, let's say, a 12 crore or 13 crore number. But till date, even I think that whenever a team member comes to me and he or she comes up with an idea, I just tell them, just stop talking and talk to me when you have executed it and show me the results what have happened. So this is a very brief background on why we think that execution is the key and why today we can, if we can add any value or help you out in any such way possible, we would be very happy to.
Sure. So I think because the session is called now idea to execution, uh, we would like to just break it down into maybe say, 2 or 3 very simple steps for you guys as to how you can go from idea to finally, sort of building a product. And the first stage typically is you have an idea, right? I'm sure a lot of you guys have had an idea at some point. But how do you really evaluate if it's a good idea, if it's worth building a startup on? Right. And the answer to that is very simple. Though there's only one way to evaluate an idea. Is it something that people want? Right. That should be your first lens. The second filter after that is it something that people will pay for? Those are the only two filters you need to apply on a very high level to evaluate any sort of startup idea. So let's start with, is it something people want? How do you go about making something people want? Well, a strategy that has worked for the two of us has been we start with, okay, let's start with, is it something I want in the first place, right? Because if it is something that even I don't want for myself, then it becomes extremely hard for me to imagine some XYZ person who will want this product, this app, whatever it is, because I myself don't want it, right? So you start with, is it something I want? And once you clear that filter that yes, this is something I want for myself, if this existed on in this universe, I will use it. Then you go on to the next filter, is it something other people want? And how do we really go about evaluating that is very simple. Just find 20 people around you who definitely say that this is something they want and they will use. And if it clears both of these filters, it's probably a good time that you start thinking about how to build a very prototype, bare bones version of your idea. Right. So, for example, what Akshay mentioned in the Zepto story, the Zepto guys did not start and just, build an app suddenly and build this company and dark stores. Sure. So someone's asked me to repeat the two filters. The first filter is it something people want? The second filter is it something that people will pay for? Now, within, is it something people want? The first filter should always be, is it something you want? Because if it is something you want and you use, there is a chance that there will be other people who are like you who will want and use that. The second part is, once you know that this is something you want and you use, you get at least 20 people around you. You talk to people who are excited by the idea that yes, they will use it. If it clears both of these, right, then you'll pass the first filter of, is it something people want? Then the next step is build a minimum valuable product or a prototype. The prototype for Zepto was not suddenly we will start so many dark stores, we will build an app, website. No, they just started with a WhatsApp group that, okay, is it something that you want? For us, a very simple version of the idea of this was Culture Circle. What it does very simply is any product you want, it helps you compare the prices on different sellers and sites, and you can order and everything. When we started, we did not think, okay, let's take all 1 lakh products and all 500 websites and try and solve it for that. We just took 10 websites and 200 products, right? And which is that we just launched that website because it was easy for us to build at that point. And that was our idea for minimum viable product, just a prototype. We knew that both of us wanted it because we had, seen price differences for the same product and we ended up overpaying in the past. We asked our friends who were with us on the trip that, have you guys faced this issue? All of them had faced this issue at some point or the other. So that passed that filter. So we just ended up building it and we launched it, right? And as he said, 2 3 months later, we're seeing, tens of thousands of people are using it without any marketing. That's a separate story, but that's a good way to start. And what you call this prototype is a minimum viable product. Now, a minimum viable product will look very different for different industries, different sectors, different ideas. It can be something as simple as a WhatsApp group. That is very important, right? WhatsApp in itself can allow you to test out so many different ideas that you maybe don't even realize. So you do that. Then you come on to the second filter, which is what we call monetization, which is very simply, is it something people will pay for? Now, this is where it gets slightly tricky because you can't just ask people this, because there's a lot of ideas that you might have that people really like as well, and they said yes, we want this. But when you ask, will you pay for it, that's when they start thinking. A lot of times they might respond that yeah, we'll pay for it, etc. But then when you actually start charging money for it, a lot of people think that they would actually pay for a product or a service, but they will not actually end up paying for it when it really comes to paying for it, right? For example, something very simple here is organic fruits and vegetables, right? Organic fruits and vegetables, if you survey people on average, would you pay, say, 50% to 80% more for the same fruits and vegetables groceries, but they're completely organic? People usually will respond, like more than 50 to 80% of people, depending on the survey, will say yes, we will pay for it. But when you actually look at the market data, less than 10% of the people actually pay that premium for organic fruits and vegetables. So a lot of people say that we will pay for it, or we want to lose weight, for example, right? But when it's about actually going to the gym and giving up on all, let's say, sugar, desserts, just eating raw, bland, home cooked food, a lot of people will not end up doing that. So it's very similar to that. So the second step is, once you have a minimum viable product, try and charge people money for that as early as possible, right? Because otherwise you'll end up building a really cool tool or a really cool product, but people will not actually end up paying for it, right? So that, I feel, is the second filter that you apply to. And after that, again, then it's about execution. Perfect. Should I scale?
Correct. So I'll tell you, right? Once you have filtered all of these things, I think talking to your customers is very important. And this is something we realized very late, that whatever we are building is for the customer. Customer is king here. So in Culture Circle, what we changed this time was, till date, it's been 1.5 years, right? We take out 30 minutes to 1 hour, depending on which day is it, what time we can allocate to speak to our customers. So basically, from my work number and his work number, we have separate work numbers and personal numbers. A message goes from me that, hi, this is Akshay. Hi, this is Devansh. Just saw you placed an order on Culture Circle for this. I just wanted to know how your experience was, and is there anything else you're looking for? Any brand you think you wanted to purchase and did not have? I hope the customer service was good enough or the app experience was good enough. Till date, we try to speak to as many customers as possible. And that should be the number one thing which you should be doing when you are building out your MVP and starting to scale. Because ultimately, nobody in this world can tell you how to execute, what to build, how to build. It cannot be your friend, it cannot be your parents or your team members or your investors. It has to be the customer you're building it for. For example, there are so many new brands we launch just because somebody else told us to launch. But honestly, I have no idea about handbags, evidently. But handbags as a category does really well because customers recommend it to us. So this is the number one thing I always recommend, that whenever you're executing, why most people tend to quit is because they're scared of failure. They feel that once they start executing, it might not end up to anything. And honestly, 9 times out of 10, that will be the case. You have to be very much okay with failing, because nobody on this planet actually cares. If you fail, nobody is going to come to you and laugh in your face. You will just build again. But the 1 time out of 10, you actually want to succeed, talking to your customers will be the key, because they'll be able to tell you what to build, and you can eventually start monetizing the platform as well, because you are able to understand the customer persona you're building for. So keep iterating over what customers tell you. Today, it might be a WhatsApp group. Eventually, it'll be a website. Then it'll be an app. then it'll be a physical store, then you'll be buying off buildings. But this is the step of iteration. Let's say, for example, you're in college right now and you want to start a new college society. You think that you do not have a stand-up comedy society in your college, or you do not have a debating society in your college. If you have this idea, I would strongly recommend don't sit on it. What would be the number one step you would do? You will try to talk to your teachers or probably your HOD that please let me start this society. The college really needs it. Let's take two basic use cases. One is they say yes, you get your society. You get 5 people to sign up. Even if they say no, that was the second case. Just start an unofficial WhatsApp group, right? Get 5 people to sign up, talk to them, have fun with them, reiterate on what they're actually doing. Are you having fun? Have more stand-up comic nights every weekend and see if more people outside your 5 people society want to join in. If that is the case, your idea, your execution is working. If that is not the case, see why that is not happening. Are you not able to hold events that frequently, or it's just that people do not have a venue to come to? Slowly and steadily, you will take in feedback from the customers who are using your platform and the customers who are not using your platform. Both of them. You'll keep building again. You'll open it up to a lot of people, and one day you'll have a successful college society with 100 people who are also ready to pay for it. And what did you do? You started this small with 5 people. You've increased it to 100 by just reiterating, talking to the people who are in the society, outside the society, about are you interested in joining or not. That is the number one way on iterating and how to scale up things.
And one of the biggest blockers that I have personally seen, like we have also made this mistake, and a lot of founders early stage, they sort of make this mistake around us. In where they fail is a lot of times it's ego, is what I've realized. That if there's like too much ego, you get very defensive with the feedback. Yeah, I'll make something. What if people don't like it? It will somehow mean something bad for me, or it's basically at the end it's like my ego will get hurt if I fail, right? And if I fail in public, or zyada log kya kahenge, right? People around me sab bolenge fail ho gaye. So I think that is one thing that you need to realize, that if you are considering entrepreneurship as a path, ego is the first thing that needs to die completely. Because if you have even like a tinge of ego, you will not be open to feedback. So for example, just to illustrate with another example that we've done this, was when we were building the healthy company. It was basically a platform to connect nutritionists to people, say, who want to lose weight, right? Through an app, we wanted to connect, etc., etc. Diet planning, sub automate ho jayega. We did not start with anything. We just started with a WhatsApp group. So we got 30 people, 5 dietitians, and we just made a WhatsApp group, one dietitian, one customer, and we are in the group. And we had 30 such WhatsApp groups, right? And when we saw the conversations in that WhatsApp group, what are the questions that people are asking, unko kya concerns the dietitians say, how the dietitians are answering it, etc. That was a lot of feedback for us. And that feedback is what ultimately led us into building a much, much better product when we launched the app. So that is a good example of what a minimum viable product should look like. You should be able to get it up and running in 2 days, get it in the hands of customers, get feedback. And when there is feedback, just accept it. Don't let ego come in the way that, no, I think aisa hoga, to aisa hi particularly hoga. When we started, we had very different ideas of what our customers will look like, what will they want. Versus when we just saw the conversations in that WhatsApp group, we realized that our customers are very happy with something as basic as आप मेरे को एक week का diet chart भेज दो. They don't need to know कि इसमें कितना carbs, protein, micronutrient split है. They want simplicity. They don't want कि मेरे को bombard कर दो आप इतनी information से. मेरे को simple बस बता दो भाई, मैं Monday lunch में क्या खाऊं, Monday dinner में क्या खाऊं, क्या मैं rice और मेरे को नहीं मिल रहा तो क्या मैं rice खा सकता हूँ या सकती हूँ मंडे डिनर में, या फिर राइस नहीं खा सकती तो अल्टरनेटिव क्या है. ये क्वेश्चंस थे. इट वाजंट आप बताओ मेरे को कितना mgs ऑफ omega-3 fat लेना है, for example. So we started with a very different idea, and when we saw the conversation, that was instant feedback for us कि ये है. And if we never got with the WhatsApp group, हम सीधा we would have made an app, thinking हमें ये लगता है ये होना चाहिए, that would have never taken off. So that is very important, that understand and listen to what customers are saying, build a quick MVP, and then just execute fast on it. And when there's feedback, be open to change. Be open to changing your product each and every time. All the best companies in the world have kept on changing their product day after day after day after day. That's how they sort of get there. So that is one. Secondly, yeah, how do you now, let's say you built out the product, right? Idea to execution, now we're on the second stage. You've built out the product, MVP is ready, people are willing to say pay for it, you're at that refined stage. What is the next step? Assuming you have a good product, how do you test if you have a good product, right? We tested the idea is good or bad. Now we'll test how a product is good or bad. There's only one simple way. It's a 30-second answer, but it's one and simple way. Whatever product you have built or service you have built, जो भी है, right? If you ask your customer, can you tell 10 friends about this product or service? Are they going to tell 10 friends or not? It's really that simple. If your product or service passes this test, your existing customers are ready to tell 10 friends and recommend your product or service to 10 other friends, or to give you 10 more customers, you have won. You have a great quality product. You do not need to go and self-doubt yourself. However, if it does not pass this test, that is a clear indicator that abhi there is no point trying to scale it up and try to market it. Like, until this point, marketing should be zero. Before your product is good enough for any customer to tell 10 of their friends about it, any rupee you spend in marketing, it's down the drain. You're just burning your money, frankly. So get to that. And the easiest way is sit, interview your customers, get on call, ask them, what will it take? What should I do? What should the product do? What should my service do? Ki you are happily telling 10 of your friends about this product or service, because that is the only way you will be able to build a large company. No large company has been able to scale with a bad product just because they're great at marketing. And there is a very famous saying that if you only need to be great at sales if you are bad at marketing. You only need to be great at marketing if you are bad at building a good product. Because if you're able to build a great product, your effort in marketing reduces by 90%, and the effort to get sales further reduces by 90%. The best products and services, they market themselves because all your existing customers will tell their friends about it. So that is one thing you should always try and evaluate if your product is ready, because you had a great idea, but there is something missing in the execution that you haven't been able to get a great product up. And that is where you should be spending your time, instead of thinking, Ki, I'll start marketing, this, that. Before building a great product, do not even think about marketing, because that will just lead to all of your money being burnt in marketing.
Quick drop in the chat, guys. What were like the last 2-3 companies or products or services you used which you happily recommended to your friends? Like, I just want to see what is everyone recommending. For example, I recommended Blue Smart to my family because I loved the application and it did not work out well. For example, Uber Drive is a great application. Blinkit, yes, 100%. I think Blinkit was recommended to me by someone. It was actually a friend who works in Blinkit. He asked me to use it.
Zepto, Minimalist, yeah.
Zepto,
Nice.
Daily Objects is nice.
All good brands.
Nice. See exactly what sneaker. Wow, one brand in our category. Thank you.
Nika, nice. Canva.
Canva comes up a lot often. Cred, yes. I also recommended Cred, like, to all of my friends to pay credit card bills. But you exactly see
ChatGPT, perfect.
ChatGPT. Yeah. The task it is to teach your parents how to use ChatGPT. Don't ever recommend it.
So
But-
see, yeah, exactly my point, right? How did you guys hear about WhatsApp, या फिर Truecaller as a product or service, Truecaller or WhatsApp have spent 0 rupees in marketing in their lifetime and they're multi-billion-dollar companies. Why? Because your friend, someone you knew, asked you, यार ये ऐप है Truecaller, I can tell you anyone's name just by their phone number. ये WhatsApp है, unlimited text messages, videos, images.
Even
we can
BBM,
share.
BBM used to be
BlackBerry Messenger was an earlier version. Correct. These companies have spent 0 rupees on marketing. That should exactly tell you how great their product is. All the companies in the chat, if you see, right, 80 to 90% of these companies, I can guarantee you, their marketing spends are less than 10% or 5% of their sales, right? And the only way this happens is when people are telling their friends about it. Otherwise, you will be in those 90% of products or companies who are constantly just trying to spend money on marketing, spend money on ads, ye wo, trying out this, trying out that, and it's not going to land. It will be like a treadmill. आप और money डाल रहे हो और customers आ रहे हैं, then they're leaving. Customers are coming, then they're leaving. It's an endless treadmill that you are on. And the only reason is fundamentally you have not built a great product. So all these companies in the chat, you analyze their balance sheet. I can guarantee you their marketing spends are less than 10% of their sales for 90% of these companies. And that's because you guys as customers are telling your friends about it. So that marketing is better than any ad that these companies can do on any platform.
So, paid marketing, it's called addictive because it's sort of like coffee. Whenever you have coffee, caffeine makes you feel great for the next 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours. That is exactly what paid marketing is. So, thank you. Somebody's recommended Culture Circle.
Thank
Thank
you so
you.
much.
But that is exactly what caffeine does. For the next 6 hours, you feel great. And that is what paid marketing does. You have skyrocketed sales, but unfortunately, that clouds your judgment because you don't really know how many people are talking about your product. And the moment you stop caffeine, the moment you stop paid marketing, everything goes down and you keep coming down with a crash because you know what? You don't have the natural energy. You don't have organic customers. That's why I think we're trying to reiterate the point that talk as much as possible to your customers as possible because they will be the key drivers in your execution. So coming to the next key driver to our execution, I think one aspect where I feel we got lucky in general, or it was luck or opportunity or whatever, is that before we built out any of the products, right? Before Culture Circle, before anything, me and Devansh have been best friends first. We have been best friends since the 6th grade, where we got the matching percentage in our final exams. It was 93.6%. Like I was slightly better, but I was 93.61. But that is the thing. Like we have been lucky in this agenda where we were together in the projects that came naturally because obviously since we both were engineers or coders, we naturally built products together. But that looking back, that really helped the both of us execute because it's honestly execution is easier said than done. Sometimes you just have a mental block. Sometimes it's scary. Should I be spending this much? Or if I do this, will this happen? It is very much easier said than done. Everyone will start doubting themselves. But being in an environment where we can just happily debate, where I know for a fact that if I am there, I can trust the other person itna zyada ki he will not defraud me or he will not give me a wrong advice. I think that goes a long way. Whenever I am taking the 7 days off, if I'm sick, if I'm not able to work, I know for a fact that he will just involuntarily cover all of my tasks and vice versa. If he has to travel, involuntarily, he knows that I will just cover everything and anything. Because whenever you're building something, after you reach a stage, it is not the easiest thing. There will be times when whatever you've done is not working out exactly what you want it to be, right? There will be times where you're running 10 experiments and all 10 of them have failed. It is sometimes very stressful. You need another person, another confidante who you can debate with, but also laugh around on your mistakes. That is why I strongly feel that if you want to execute, you know what, grab your friend who might just be aligned. Not every friend is aligned to building something, but grab a friend or grab a very close confidante and start building together, because strongly I'm against the idea that you should be doing something alone. If it's a project, if it's you're building an app or something like this, initial stages is completely fine. Don't think it's a blocker for you to start. If you want to build out an MVP, yes, do it. But the moment you decide this is something which I want to take forward, get someone alongside you, because you alone cannot cover everything. You should definitely, if you're lucky, you'll be alongside your best friend, and then he'll be a co-founder.
Yeah, and okay, that's very interesting question in the chat. You both knew each other's strengths and weaknesses at the same time. I'll be very honest, right? So typically advice यही होता है, get someone with complementary skill sets, and that way you complement each other, etc. I feel it's actually way more important to just get someone as a co-founder who you trust. Because when we started out, we did not have complementary skill sets. We in fact had the same skill set, which was we were both coders, but that was about it. कोई complementary skill sets नहीं था, but there was trust. And eventually, as we started running things, we found our own niches. So, for example, I went into marketing, fundraising, customer facing side. He went into, say, accounting, tech, operations, all of that side. And we naturally deviated and took care of like all the responsibilities that are needed. So, in fact, if you see most companies actually do not fail because they couldn't fundraise or competition or even the product wasn't nice. They actually failed because of co-founder conflict. There was a large scale study done across all startups. It's because of co-founder conflict. And first 6 months are beautiful in sort of any partnerships or a relationship. After that is when the real problems start coming in, right? And I'm sure marriage also works the same way, right? So once time passes, problems start coming in, and that is where people fall apart. So that is super, super important. That trust and just like realizing the intention of the other person is actually more important than complementary skill sets. वो आ जाएगा with time. If you're someone who's smart, uh, it comes in. That is that. Also, I'd say in terms of now on slightly something more tactical again, is we were talking about product market fit and how do you evaluate if your product is good. So a number that I would want everyone here to just take away from here is a number called NPS, which is Net Promoter Score, right? I'll explain it very simply, but you guys can Google. But this is something each and everyone should be measuring for anything that you build, because that is the clearest indicator. So a Net Promoter Score is simply you ask all of your existing customers, how likely are you to recommend this product or service to a friend on a scale of 1 to 10? Now, if it is a 7, 8, 9, or 10, that means, okay, they're likely to recommend it. If it's a 1 to 4, that's a negative, right? And you do all of the positive responses minus all the negative responses divided by the total number of responses. And if this number is typically above 70 to 80%, if it's above 80%, you have a winner product. If it's between 60 to 80%, you need to make some tweaks, but you can start with marketing as well and keep on making the tweaks. If this number is below 60%, you should not be doing anything else except talking to more customers, refining your product until this number gets to, let's say, above a 60% or an 80%. So that is just the final piece of tactical advice, that always be measuring your NPS. And I think finally, the third thing, sort of the third lens we like to talk about, again, this comes at a later stage, but it's about scale and profitability of running a business. So here again, a few important things how you should be looking at a business is always make sure that you are profitable on each transaction from the first transaction itself. This is the place where most of, say, these D2C brands come in. Someone selling healthy snacks, perfume, skincare, etc. There is an 80% failure rate in D2C brands. And the reason for that is they, make an argument. I am selling a product for 100 rupees. I am making it for say 40 rupees. So 60 rupees is my margin. And these guys end up spending more than 60 rupees in just marketing, right? Because their logic is the customer will come in, repeat buy, and that's when it'll be profitable. And that is the biggest mistake sort of most of these companies make, because you can do all the math that you want, but it never really adds up over the long term, right? So make sure that you're always profitable from the first transaction itself. There are some business models like a Facebook or a Snapchat, like social media, etc., wherein this might not be the case. But for 99% of the audience, I feel we're building products and services that people pay for. So in that scenario, always be profitable from the first transaction itself is something we have learned the hard way. It always pays to do that. Secondly, uh, it is very difficult to change the gross margins of an industry typically. So if you are in, say, let's say cosmetics on average have an 80% gross margin, right? If you now evaluate all top 50 to 100 D2C cosmetic brands, their gross margins will be in this range between 75 to 85. Like no matter what they do, even if they set up large factories, even if they're outsourcing, but it will be in this range, for example, right? All cosmetic companies. In let's say F&B, it's more in the 60 to 75% range. In let's say electronics, right? Something like a boat electronics or like earphones or whatever, it's more in the range of say 30 to 40 odd percent. And typically, no matter what backward integration factory lagadi, these numbers don't typically change too much, right? So always, okay, footwear, someone is asking, footwear, again, it's typically in the range of 50 to 60 odd percent. Fashion is very high gross margin, 80 to 90%. If you're building nutraceuticals like supplements, pharmaceuticals, it's 90%, like 85 to 90%.
Perfumes are 90-95%.
Perfumes again go very high. So typically, you will not be changing your gross margins too much with the life cycle of your company. So be very clear that what business you're entering, what are the gross margins, and that will allow you to save finance, your marketing, team costs, other payroll, etc., etc. Don't be under the impression ki I will be able to do something magical, wherein all the top companies of the world operate at say 70% gross margin in my category. I will do something magical and make it 80. Very less likely that that ever happens. Like very, very few examples of that. So that is something on the third bit, which is profitability, that be very clear going into the business. What are the gross margins? What does the revenue profile look like for each and every category that I'm going to be in? The only way long term to increase gross margins is brand building. Like, what is a brand? A brand is only a true brand if, let's say, I have salt. Now, salt is available at an unbranded salt is, let's say, 100 rupees. But Tata salt for the same quantity is 150 rupees. Now, if consumers are willing to pick Tata salt at 150 rupees, that 50 rupees, that 50% is what is the true brand value of a Tata salt, right? So, unless you are able to charge a premium on your product, then what is the average price in the market? You are not necessarily a brand. A brand only becomes a brand if the customer is willing to charge or willing to pay a premium for you. So be clear. Are you in the brand business where you will charge a premium? Are you in the volume business? You can be commodity trading. You can be trading the 100 rupee salt at 5 rupees profit, but be dealing in large volumes. That is also, very nice business within itself. But be very clear from the start, what are you building? Because if you're building a brand business, then you need to invest heavily. Then you need that sort of capital already in your kitty, saying, okay, these 10 crores I've allocated just for brand building, and I will build that brand so that I can charge 30 rupees more or 50 rupees more for the same product. So these things typically don't really change once you're started. So this is something just on the profitability and P&L side, that just be very clear from a high level that strategically what you're trying to build. Okay, I think
we have taken up a lot of your time, but to close up from the conversation where we were able to talk about our journey, where across our different timelines we were able to build products, and the number one thing which was common, which I think again we were lucky that we were able to just execute because we just like to, we did not romanticize the ideas, but we romanticize the grind and the journey because we just like building it or you can just call it that we liked attaching a name to something. That, you know what, this Panda game, which was pushed 20 years back, oh sorry, 16 years back probably, that was what we built. So probably it was that. But again, Culture Circle, we're in Goa and we were supposed to have a lot of fun, but we ended up in front of our laptops where we were just building out something, and probably could say ki this platform, you know what, it was built by us. That was the idea. And slowly and steadily, all of these things which we are capable enough to tell you somewhat about, we've learned the hard way, right? Yes, we've had mentors along our journey who used to warn us of these things ahead in the game. We've had investors in our journey who used to groom us, tell us most of the things we learned, a lot of the things we were told. But again, always taking an advice was very helpful for us. So thank you so much, everyone, for having us here today. If we could have, throughout this 50-minute session, not bored you and given you like even one solid experience or advice, we would feel that we have accomplished something, because there are more than 150 of you in the chat. So over to you. We'll be opening it up for questions and answers. I think I can already see some. So Manji, just let me know how to take this forward.
Thank you. Awesome, guys. It was wonderful to hear you. I had my own takeaways for today. And of course, with one mantra, you should have the ability to build if you want to get to that way. That was one powerful thing for me. So we are opening up for Q&A. I would request all our participants to shoot their questions in their chat, and I will be moderating it. But from the people who've already, they were actually questioning, so let me pick them up first. So Manish Rankaji, his question on paid advertising is that you compared, you gave the analogy between the paid advertising and caffeine. But he says that isn't it most of the D2C brand do this and they spend a lot of money on Insta ad spends and they are behind influencers. So what's your take in it?
Exactly. And we've made that same mistake with our previous venture, right? But that's what, like, look at all of the D2C brands, what percentage of them have actually got into any kind of profitability? What percentage of them have got into any kind of real scale, say beyond, 100 crores of annualized revenue? Very, very few, right? And how many have achieved scale with profitability? Very, very few again, right? So again, see that is what, that the only way to do that is, like, when you spend on marketing, is if your product is so good that you have, say, an 80%, 70% customer repeat rate. Those are the only brands. 80 to 85% of the brands do not have a 70 to 80% customer repeat rate. So therefore, in the long term, all of these D2C brands will not be able to sustain themselves. Either they improve their product so much that they get to a 70-80% repeat rate, or they will unfortunately have to shut shop after burning a lot of investor money. So that's the call, that the only metric that allows you to overspend on marketing is if your product is so good that you have a 70 to 80% customer return rate, you have a 70 to 80% NPS. So one customer that you're acquiring, even at a loss, is definitely going to come back and is going to get multiple other people with that person. So those two things need to be true for you to be even eligible to sort of spend, higher than, say, 20 to 30% on marketing.
Super cool. Thank you for that. Okay, Varunji had a question that how can you get an investor when you just have a prototype?
I think a lot of people anyway do that. Investors, if you just have a prototype, right? A lot of investors very happily come on board. JIF is out there. So we run an arm. I am the co-convener in Guruvaar. Please reach out to me. So, but for example, Jito also has an arm which invests in early stages. So if you just have a prototype, that is actually a good thing, because what an investor will now look at is, what is the founding team? For example, are you the best person on this planet to build it, or the most suitable? For example, do you have enough experience to know about this industry? And they will always try to ask a lot of people if this is the product which you want. A lot of tech companies raise money even before they build a website or a platform.
One piece of paper, just an idea.
Correct. For example, Twitter's ex-CEO, I think Pratham, just raised $30 million just out of his credibility. But again, a lot of people raise investment money before officially launching. And that is what we call usually seed investments or pre-revenue investments. Probably the catch is that you give away a higher share of equity in a lot of cases, but in rare cases that is not true. But yes, I think a lot of companies have been raising money on prototypes, given that the investors actually like it and they are from the same industry or their thesis lies in the same industry.
So I'll give you an example for us. When we were raising money for our first company, we were just two, graduates, still not even entirely graduated. Like we were just graduating. We had zero track record, zero credibility per se. We had not worked in the industry. We were going to do that, right? And so we would have not been able to raise money with just a prototype. So what did we have to do? We were very clear. We went out, put the product in market, got traction. Because if you don't have any of the above, you don't have some credibility, some experience, expert insight into the industry, a great team, background, etc. If you don't have any of that, then money talks, right? Like if you get traction, if you get revenue, then that is the indicator to the investor that okay, this person is worth taking a bet on. What is an investor trying to do? Reverse the question and try to think of an investor. Like now you are an investor. You will try to just minimize your risk that the money that I'm putting in does not go to zero. What will you look at? If there is some insane capability in the team, either they've been in this industry for 10, 15 years, they're experts, or their academic credentials are off the charts and they have demonstrated some ability to show excellence, then like ठीक है, team is solid, I'm willing to risk ये execute कर पाएंगे या नहीं. But if you don't have any of this, then how do you de-risk as an investor? You're like, acha, now I will see what have they been able to do with this product. Is it making money? Are they able to generate revenue? Then I'm willing to take a bet ki chalo, team has shown me that even though they might not have amazing credentials or previous track record, with this company, they have already shown me that traction. So it's one of those two risks that the investor will take. Just try to minimize the risk for an investor. It will lead to a much better outcome in terms of fundraise, valuation, how easy it is to raise, all of those things follow.
Okay, great. Thank you, Devansh. So we've got a question from Udit, and from his question, I guess he's a young lad who's in college. So he says he has got two questions. The college eats half of the day, no real knowledge is delivered. Shall I drop it? I'm really good at building tech. And his second question is, how do you keep continuing when you felt there's a need to quit?
I don't think there is any need to quit college. That is not what would we recommend public to anyone. We do not recommend. But in fact, like honestly, we were also in college only when we built this out. If there is no need for you to go to college, just try to attend the minimum basic classes you can. If you think there is not a lot of information being given out, honestly, that is true.
Do a lot of internships.
A lot of undergrad, correct. Do a lot of internships.
That's where you learn. But there's no need to drop out. I'll tell you the tactical benefit of college. It's never the education. It's the people around you, right? For example, we made friends in college who were placed at sort of different companies, engineers and others. And now we are actively, we actively help each other out in a bunch of ways. We're working with 4 of our college friends on different projects right now. If we had decided in second year, no, we'll drop out, seek nahi rahe, we would have not made those friends who are helping us now. So the benefit of college is never the education. That's true for 95% of all colleges in India. You don't learn anything, right? And that's okay. But try to build a network of smart people. No matter what college it is, you'll have 20 smart people in every college in this country, I'm pretty sure. Who are those 20 people? Try to associate with them, build genuine connections with them. That is what you take out of college. And the remaining time, do internships. Like I probably did 4 to 5 internships in my first 2 years of college. Well, it's not even allowed to do an internship. I did it unofficially for free. Again, because I was like, someone else is taking their time, their company's time to teach me, right? That already is the payment for any time I put into it. So that is probably a better way to approach it rather than dropping out, because having a degree is also a safety cushion. For example, like once we have certain degrees or brands, your risk-taking ability goes higher, because even if I fail at this idea, I will still get a job where I'll be able to sustain myself. So automatically you take bigger risks for the next 20 years of your life. So try and optimize.
Correct. 100% love this take. All right. So we've got another question from Bhavyansh ji, and quite a relevant one since Jains are more about family business. So he asks, do the strategies of startups apply to age-old family businesses in this evolving world?
I mean, I think it's very difficult to answer that because it's very contextual to what the family business is. If you had more context, maybe we could have. But I think what the strategies we've told you are not strategies of a startup. I feel they're strategies of a business in general. Every business wants to build a good product that people want, that people pay for, or a good service that people want, people pay for, right? No matter what product or service it is, would you not want your existing customer to get 10 more customers? Even if you're a B2B business, right? Would you not want your, let's say you make, I don't know, generators. Would you not want that you're supplying generator to one person or one company and they refer 10 other companies that, okay, this is a good company to get a generator from, right? So these strategies are agnostic typically of whether it's a startup or a family business. They apply to business in general. So that's what we've tried to do it.
Superb. Okay, another question from Harshvardhan ji, and he says scaling is always a challenging thing to have, and especially in the B2B arena. And do you have any experience in that?
Honestly, I don't think we're qualified enough to speak.
We've not done B2B yet, to be very honest. But as far as I've seen a lot of founder friends scaling B2B, I think software as a service, SaaS products scale up really well and much faster than any other product companies out there. Because once you have logged in your first 5 clients, for example, let's say I'm building a chatbot, right? That's a software, that's B2B again. If I've logged in the first 5 clients and I've built the best chatbot out there, it's very easy to go from 5 to 5,000 clients. So SaaS companies, B2B, are very easy to scale if given that you've cracked product, the software you're serving, and they're very easy to scale compared to the product companies. Because if it's a physical location store, I have to open a store every time I go to a new city, right? If it's a product based company, I have to have X number of SKUs and buy number of thousands of quantities. Software as a service is the easiest to scale out there. But in general, B2B, other than that, honestly, not so much experience to be able to credible enough for this.
It depends on the ticket size also of what you're selling. If it's a very high ticket service or product you're selling and you're selling to enterprises, then maybe the answer is just get better sales staff, right? Get the best sales staff available in your industry, and maybe that will be your unlock. If it's a very low ticket item, it's a $50, $100, let's say service or whatever, then maybe it's you create incentive mechanism for your existing customers to get you new customers. So I think the answer is going to be really different based on the ticket size also.
Cool. All right. Next one coming in from Pratham ji, and what he says is the importance of having a personal brand and how you use your personal brand in terms of selling through your content. So what's your take on that?
I feel, I feel like honestly, personal brand, it's nowadays it's very fashionable to say, every founder needs to have a personal brand, build a personal brand, this, that. And while that may be true, I don't think, especially for the early stages, any of your time or effort should be dedicated towards building a personal brand. Because frankly, see, people buy from culture circle, let's say, because they like the product, they like the price. Nobody is going to buy because Akshay is the founder or Devansh is the founder of Culture Circle. You buy a Coca-Cola, for example, because you like the product. No matter who the founder is, you'll buy it. I'll take it to the logical extreme. Let's take Elon Musk, the biggest personal brand in the world at this point, in my opinion, right? Elon Musk builds Tesla, right? Electric cars. Now, if Tesla starts making terrible cars that do not perform, that are inferior to the competition, nobody is going to buy a 50 lakh Tesla just because Elon Musk is the founder, frankly. Right. So that way, the utility in terms of scaling your business and your customers is fairly limited because the customer really cares about your product or service first. They do not care who the founder is. They're not gonna. Maybe they give it a chance once, right? Okay, seems like a good company or whatever. But beyond that, if it's a terrible product service, it does not help. Where personal brand sort of helps, though, a caveat is hiring. For example, right? We are able to hire better For us, because we've seen that transition pre-Shark Tank and post-Shark Tank, sort of people started to recognize us, etc., etc. It didn't really help too much with customers. Sure, we got brand recognition, this or that. But if we're doing a terrible job, people will not buy just because we're on Shark Tank. But it helps with hiring a lot more. Because once you get more out there, you attract better talent because people want to be working with someone who they feel connected to, who they feel inspired from, who they feel they want to be like. So in hiring, it probably helps way more than it helps with, growing your business directly.
Plus networking, it helps you build a lot of business relationships. A lot of the people are a little bit better able to identify us. So we can help grow our business. It does not help the conversion rate much. It does not help with the sales much, but it helps us in making either getting new team members, helps us in making new relationships with business partners, which eventually affects our business's top lines and bottom lines. So overall, personal brand, yes, go for it, but not in very early stages. After you can, for a fact, say that yes, your business has reached a particular revenue where you're comfortable enough for a personal brand, then you should go for it.
Okay, so the bottom line is the quality of product and service first, and then anything in terms of either a product brand or a personal brand. All right, cool. So there's another question from Varunji. Do we need to have a non-disclosure agreement during pitching your prototype, and how do you counter the idea? I don't understand that question well, but if you get it, please help answering.
Sure. No, like just do not make that mistake. You do not need to have an NDA when pitching to investors or telling your idea or prototype or anything. Frankly, I'll tell you why. Firstly, NDAs barely hold up in court in India. So even if you have an NDA, it's not going to solve what you're trying to solve for. Secondly, again, the point we were trying to make through this entire session was exactly that ideas are worth practically nothing. Trust me, any investor you go to must have heard a slightly different variation of your idea 20 times, pitched by 20 different founders. What really matters is the execution. You do not need an NDA because even if you tell, okay, assume now it's a very unique idea. Nobody has heard of it before. You pitch it to an investor. The investor's full-time job is to evaluate companies and fund companies. He will not go and start suddenly building out and copy your idea and start building it out, right? And frankly, if just by pitching your and telling your idea, if someone else can build a better version and product of that idea than you, then that person does deserve to win in that market, to be very honest, right? That is the hard truth. Because if it's your idea, you're the best person who has all the context to be able to build and execute that. So just don't go for like NDAs. It will sound very unprofessional to the investor as well, that, why is this person being this way, etc. So, and they're anyway not really enforceable beyond a certain extent. So just avoid.
All right. Next one coming on from Rahul Shaji. He asks, is it better to span into multiple brands or businesses, or focus on just one or maybe two and go all in?
Again, I don't think we have a clear answer to that because I think depends. Like I think we are not nearly smart enough, so we need to spend all of our time, effort, bandwidth in one business because it takes a lot. On the other hand, you have someone like an Elon Musk running 8 different companies. So I'm sure like if you feel you have superhuman intelligence and you can manage so many things, you can try it. But honestly, for 99% of the people, it's probably better to maximize one idea and get that one idea to a 10 on 10, then try 5 different things and get all of them to a 1 on 10. Because there's also the concept of leverage. Once something starts working, it gets easier to grow and grow and grow and grow, like economies of scale. For example, right? Once something has reached a certain scale, so to achieve your first 1 crore is hard. But from 1 crore to 2 crore, it gets much easier than 0 to 1 crore in sales, for example, right? So it's really that flywheel. So don't compromise on that in terms of doing that. Once you've taken it to a stable state where you feel now this business cannot grow any further, no matter what I've tried for 6 months, everything. Maybe that's the point you diversify. But when you can see potential in one business to grow, it's in your best interest to take it to its maximum extreme.
I would still say that whenever you think you want to diversify, just you will probably try to get a replacement for yourself as a CXO or a CEO, and then you would like to diversify. Like my very strong conviction is that you have to put all of your eggs in one basket, or you have to keep digging the hole in the same spot if you actually want to achieve something. If you're trying to diversify too early, suddenly your mind, which has the capability to achieve a 1 crore or 2 crore, it's divided into 100 different things, and you will not be able to do it. So even if you reached a certain stage where you think you cannot grow this company further, get a replacement, take a partial and official exit from there, or make sure it runs passively, and then move on to another thing. Even if you move on to another thing, make sure in my experience, make sure it's not five other things you're moving on to. It's that one good thing which you can build to a 10 on 10.
100%. Okay, and in the benefit of, for the benefit of all, the assessment form has already been flashed in the chat box. I'll request each of you to fill in that, because that would make your participation certificate follow through. We've got Namit Jainji asking a question that if you were to start a business like Culture Circle all over again, and the same knowledge you had at the start, with as much use of AI as possible, how fast and how economically would you be able to build it?
I think
Way more.
we think we've actually built it fast enough. We've tried to use, we actually use AI tools every day in all of the departments, right? Marketing departments, operations, customer service, etc. But yes, it'll be probably double, triple the speed which we've reached at.
I think the fastest thing where you can gain an advantage now is technology. Let's say pre-AI, the Culture Circle app took us 3 to 4 months to build. Now I can get it done in 10 to 12 days easily. So I think technology, like building out apps and websites, is where the biggest delta is, where we would have, benefited from. Because I've seen, like, you go on YouTube, do your research, you can build out any app or website using AI in 8 to 10 days. You literally can build out anything and everything. You can build a clone of Twitter, for example, in 3 hours, and it does everything that Twitter does, right? So again, I think just like be on top of all the new models being launched. ChatGPT 5 was launched a few days ago. Again, it can do a lot of insane stuff. All of our marketing, if you go to Culture Circle's Instagram page, more than half of the content you see there is now AI generated. I have made an AI clone of myself. The video you've just posted 2 hours ago, if you go to Culture Circle page, open that video. It's an AI clone of myself talking in my voice, my accent, exactly how I'm talking right now. And it's a 60-second video, and you guys will not be able to tell that it's AI. Now I've told you, now you might, but if you look at that, nobody can tell it's AI. So again, it's across all departments that we've done it. I feel 1 year down the line, if you're doing this session, we could have just AI replicated ourselves and asked it to read from a script. You guys wouldn't know. So it's
I
moving.
was about to ask this question.
There's actually a controversy that currently Sam Altman came on the Kamath podcast, and there are a lot of people on Reddit actually saying that it's an AI clone version of him and not the real him. So we might just be there.
I know. So let's wait for another year to see how well you can do the AI bit of yourself. Okay, there's a lot of questions coming in from Samarth, and Samarth is asking, he's quite inquisitive about Culture Circle. How can we become a part of it? How Culture Circle can become a global brand and things like that. So please, if you can
I
help
think,
on that.
for any, I think Culture Circle related questions, I think it'll be better if I just drop in my
Yes,
WhatsApp
yes,
or the
correct,
email ID.
correct. That would be good.
I'll just
Yeah.
drop in my credentials here so that we can answer more.
Yeah. And also there was a question in between, probably I missed reading that. It's from Rahul ji. He is a very valid question. How do you get a good mentor?
Good question. I don't have an answer to that question. I think some part of life and business, etc., is obviously luck. So again, like, we have been lucky to get good mentors along the way, but I think you can maximize the surface area to be lucky by doing a lot of stuff. So like, we just did a lot, met someone who met someone, etc., and that's how we got. Sure, like doing an MBA from a top B school helped me in that sense, that I can reach out to sort of the alumni. But honestly, like, getting a good mentor, what is a good mentor in the first place, we don't know. Like, what if I feel I have good mentors, but what if I had Elon Musk or Bill Gates as my mentor? That'd be even better, let's say. Or, so there's no clear answer to how to get a good mentor, but I think you can get lucky, but to get lucky, maybe try and maximize the opportunities for luck to favor you.
Yeah, and I always say when the student is ready, the teacher appears. So when you think you're ready to surrender to a mentor, the mentor will appear from nowhere. The universe will always support it. Okay, it's been wonderful talking to both of you, getting into your minds, knowing your bits, knowing your journey, and the friendship which has been there for long decades now. Good to see our young blood shining so much. And I thank each of our participants also uh, uh, for the active participation, I'm sure. So one final question from my side for each of you. If you were to rate from 1 to 5 for this session, 1 being the lowest and 5 being the highest, what is the rating would you like to give to this Guruvaar Ka Gyaan Session 11 from Akshay and Devansh? See, so many 5s coming up.
Thank you
And
so
this
much.
is
Thanks so
this
much.
one question I always love doing it at the end. So it was totally worth. So one of them has also said 6. So thank you all of you. Thank you, Dilse, to all of you who've attended the session. Thank you, Akshay and Divyansh, for sharing beautiful insights and the journey. I am sure you will be inspiring more startups and more businesses by virtue of this talk. We were glad to have you on Guruvaar Ka Gyaan Session. And yes, thank you so much. And until we meet next, thank you all.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.